today that we are standardizing the recipe for cassava bread in the nation is getting the stamp of authority of the governing board, the Honorable Minister of Science and Tech, and the Honorable Minister Federal Ministry of Science and Technology, Dr. Abdul Ulama, ably represented by Dr. Ujagu, the Honorable Minister, Federal Ministry of Agriculture and Rural Development, Dr. Akinwumi Adesina, ably represented by the Special Advisor, especially when it relates to the subject matter for today, the area of cassava. The Permanent Secretary, Federal Ministry of Science and Technology, Dr. Ekanem, representing Mrs. Winifred Itaboyo. Permanent Secretaries in Agric, the Director General, Standard Organization of Nigeria, present, ably represented by Mrs. Margaret Eshet. The Master Bakers, the President of the Master Bakers, the National President of the Lagos State Chapter of also the Cassava Growers Association, Director General of the National Association of Chamber and Commerce and Industries, representative of the Flour Millers Association of Nigeria, representative of the President of Cassava, Mr. Egbewale, also representing the Nigerian Institute of Science and Technology, distinguished stakeholders in the Cassava initiative in Nigeria, especially with regards to the inclusion of cassava flour into bread for national development. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, members, gentlemen of the press present, it is actually with great joy in my heart to welcome you to this occasion. This occasion is the cassava bread recipe confirmation exercise. And so you are warmly recognized and welcome to the Federal Institute of Industrial Research. Let me first and foremost thank you all for giving this event a priority despite all your busy schedule. I feel delighted seeing all the major stakeholders in cassava value chain here today. In particular, that we are actually linking the past to the present. And there is continuity in policy. And that is why we have Prince Adesina on the high table, who was the Chairman Technical Committee on Cassava Initiative between 2003 to 2009, I believe. Please, let's give him a round of applause. I feel delighted seeing all of you here today, and I'm highly impressed that you have treated our invitation as a national call, considering the importance of the cassava bread and cassava in general to national socio-economic development of Nigeria. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, it is no longer news that the Federal Institute of Industrial Research here in Oshodi pioneered R&D work on composite flour production from cereals, legumes, and tubers way back in the 60s, with the sole objective of reducing to an extent the importation of wheat into the country. Major crops worked on for composite flour production in this institute include cassava, sorghum, millet, maize, rice, and soybean. With each of these crops, different levels of percentages of substitution or inclusion were utilized, and the results were very, very encouraging. The Institute has been in the forefront in cassava processing R&D and has actually developed many products of commercial importance from cassava. Chief among these products is the high-quality cassava flour, which the Institute has utilized for partial substitution of wheat flour at various levels of inclusion. The Institute actually has a patent to the production of high-quality cassava flour, and it is in public domain. Specifically, in 1964, a composite flour program was initiated by the Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations. This program was conceived as an intervention by FAO primarily to reduce importation bills on wheat for developing countries by stimulating local production and processing of non-wheat flour to be incorporated into the wheat flour. FAO then was identified as one of the centers of excellence for composite flour and was funded by FAO. This program actually gave rise to the constitution of the National Composite Flour Technology Committee, which operated from FAO. The composite flour research work in FAO also accumulated into the first production of the 10% cassava wheat bread, which was presented then in 1982. It is also on record that in 1984, the federal government of Nigeria mandated the use of cassava flour inclusion in wheat flour for bread making. Unfortunately, the policy failed with the administration. We have living witnesses to this initiative in the persons of Mrs. Adetunji, who is our keynote speaker this morning, who was then the special advisor to Mr. President on food security in this country, and Prince Ferdinand. They are living witnesses. This development killed the morale of all the stakeholders in the business because at the end of the administration, the initiative seemed to have gone downwards. Cassava growers lost interest in cultivation due to lack of industrial demand, as there were very few cassava processors. Fabricators shifted emphasis to other equipment. Work on cassava flour and its utilization was then limited or restricted to research and development laboratories. Research results have also shown that high-quality cassava flour can be incorporated into wheat flour for bread making at different levels of substitution. However, 10 to 20% was considered most acceptable for bread making, being the level at which no noticeable difference can be detected between bread made from 100% wheat flour, while 15 to 40% is acceptable for confectionaries and other baked products, though confectionaries can be made with 100% cassava flour. The current momentum was also as a result of the Institute's effort. About 10 years ago, precisely April 2004, the former president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, President Olusegun Obasanjo, visited this institute to inspect array of the institute's products as well as commercial products of entrepreneurs who pass the various technologies here through our technology transfer under the entrepreneurship training program. Out of many of these products, it was the cassava bread that attracted the then president. And together, there were several sessions and several meetings in which the 10% cassava flour inclusion was taken then as a sustainable level, taking into consideration raw materials production. Since then, successive administrations have found something good in the cassava bread and the need to make it a national bread. The current administration, under the able leadership of Dr. Goodluck Ebele Jonathan, has given more attention to the issue of cassava bread and cassava development, even more than any other government in Nigeria. Most especially through the effort of the indefatigable and amiable brother of mine and the Minister of Science and Tech, that is our dear Honorable Minister of Agriculture and Rural Development, Dr. Akinwumi Adesina. Please let's give him a round. Who vowed recently that he would take the issue of adoption of cassava bread as national bread to a very logical conclusion. To achieve this, the minister is not leaving any stone unturned. February this year, the minister constituted a committee comprising of FIRO, NAFDAC, SON, and the Ministry of Agriculture to draft a bill on cassava bread, which is to be submitted to the National Assembly for legislation. This assignment was successfully accomplished, and the draft bill submitted to the Honorable Minister of Agriculture. Following closely, a stakeholders workshop was convened by the ministry to solicit the input of all stakeholders. The technical session, which was shared by DG FIRO, me, in Abuja, brought about a concrete document that can go to National Assembly, not only having cassava, but local content into wheat. That means other crops such as sorghum, millet can be incorporated in future. It gladdens me to note that the Federal Ministry of Agriculture is looking at the issue of cassava development in all of its ramifications, including the cassava growers, cassava processors, master bakers, and so on. And a large portion of the 10% of the 10 billion cassava bread fund has been set aside also for the training of bakers in cassava bread production to acquire machinery and equipment to enhance its operation. FIRO here has been actively involved in the training of these master bakers in cassava bread production in the last 20 years. Recently, the Institute signed an MOU with the Federal Ministry of Agriculture on training of over 1,000 master bakers in the Southwest Geopolitical Zone and Kwara State. This training will commence in batches from the end of this month. Results from field studies and surveys have actually confirmed that cassava has a very high potential to create wealth and employment. It has been estimated that cassava has the potential to generate about 3 million jobs along that value chain. In this light, most of our unemployed youth that are involved in unpleasant social, antisocial activities will be gainfully employed. It has also been estimated that about 63.5 billion naira can be saved in foreign exchange if we have 20% level of inclusion and over 5,000 SMEs that can spring up to produce the 1.2 million tons of high-quality cassava flour demand estimate by the flour milling industry at 20% inclusion. Why are we here today? It is a common knowledge that there are many recipes for cassava bread development by various institutions. Some have come up with cassava bread recipe including egg, milk, etc., which makes such recipes unprofitable and, more importantly, unsustainable to the huge population in Nigeria of over 170 million people. The Federal Ministry of Agriculture and the Rural Development have sponsored many trainings for master bakers, with each training institution sometimes using their own recipe to train. This has raised the issue of standardization of cassava bread recipe. I'm very happy that my brother, my colleague, standardization, that we're working closely together, SON, is here today. Minister of Agriculture brought into and directed FIRO to carry out cassava bread recipe confirmation exercise with all necessary stakeholders in attendance with a view to evolving a national recipe for cassava bread. This is very important for issue of standard, quality control, and making sure that necessary good manufacturing practices are really put in place. Ladies and gentlemen, after this opening ceremony, we shall proceed to the technical session for baking exercise. We shall bake bread at various levels of inclusion, including 10%, 15%, and 20%, to the view of everybody using the standard recipe that has been developed in FIRO over the years from the 60s to where we are. This is a recipe we can trust, we can boast of. These are recipes that can be given to the whole nation for use in production of the cassava bread. Government has paid extensively for research work in FIRO, and Nigerians have the right to those information, and that is the whole idea here. The recipe we are talking about and the bread produced are not accidental results from the lab, from a kitchen. It has taken years to develop this research work, and all aspects has been taken into consideration. The toxicological aspect, the human aspect, rheological factors, physical properties, sensory evaluation, market acceptability have all been done and documented, including shelf life studies. We are going to bake this bread, we are going to watch it, and these technical people will come back after 5 days to check all the same properties in terms of the principle, and we are going to do the GI. GI because people were speculating that cassava bread was going to cause diabetes or increase the incidence of diabetes in this nation. FIRO took the challenge on and prepared different percentages of cassava inclusion in bread and did an in vivo study on 250 subjects to find the effect or how it is reacting to glucose metabolism within the system. And we found that definitely there is a drop in the GI of whole of bread made with 100% wheat and bread made with 10-20% cassava. The drop is not too significant. I mean, it's not too sharp, but very significant different drop, which shows that it is not detrimental to health. It will definitely not cause diabetics. And there are values, there are information, and these have been published in international journal, and it has also been published or read in international conferences. The latest was at the West African Nutrition Congress that held in Ghana. This exercise is a week-long program that will address cassava bread production in all ramifications. So we will all have to be patient and get the result, and we hope the press will report this adequately and show Nigerians that cassava bread is safe. It will help us in national development. It is also nutritious. Ladies and gentlemen, cannot conclude this address without acknowledging the main contributors and sponsors of this program, and they are the Flour Milling Association of Nigeria. We thank you very much. This shows that we are working together, that the Flour Millers Association are in line and in tandem with the policy of the federal government of Nigeria, and they are supporting the Cassava Bread Initiative fully. Let's give them a round of applause. They are ably represented by Mr. Dapo Aruwono. Another sponsor is Cassava, adding value to Africa. We are very conversant with that. This is a program handled and sponsored by Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. And we have Mr. Egbeshola representing them on the high table. And the Ministry of Agriculture, ably represented here, that gave the matching order that the Furo recipe should be standardized and adopted as the national recipe for bread, for the cassava bread, recipe, because it can stand the test of time. We thank you for recognizing the work of a research institute of over 58 years, the foremost research institute in Nigeria established to accelerate the industrialization of the nation. I believe this cooperative attitude towards cassava bread policy will continue by all stakeholders. On this note, I welcome you all again to this event and wish you very fruitful deliberation and happy experience at the Institute. Thank you, and God bless you.
I'm here representing the Honorable Minister of Science and Technology, Dr. Abdul Kalam, who really wanted to attend this event, but could not because of other exigencies of duty. He actually mandated me at a meeting for where I am chairman to come and represent him here. That clearly shows the importance of which the ministry and he in particular attaches to this project. This Cassava project, for which Mr. President is also a key participant. So whatever I say there, I say on behalf of the Honorable Minister of Science and Technology. Like I told you, I work on natural medicine, so I do not want to tell you anything that has to do with traditional medicine here. And I do not want to cast any spells either. We have already taken care of that. Thank you very much. So on behalf of the Honorable Minister of Science and Technology, I give this short address. The Honorable Minister of Agriculture and Rural Development, Dr. Abdul Additional, ably presented by Mrs. Adetunji, the Technical Advisor, the Permanent Secretaries of Ministries of Science and Technology and Agriculture and Rural Development, the Director Generals of NAFDAC, SON, and our host here today, FIRO, and all other Director Generals present. I note here that there are several associations, their presidents and all that. If you had observed carefully, I tried frantically to scribble the names. Since I couldn't get all the names, I'll take the easy route and just take the presidents and chairmen of professional associations and organizations, including the Nigerian Institute of Food, Science and Technology, the Master Bakers Association, the Flour Millers Association of Nigeria, Cassava Growers Association, National Cassava Processors and Marketers Association, the National Association of Chambers of Commerce, Industries, Mines and Agriculture, the Lagos Chamber of Commerce and Industry. I want to particularly recognize Prince Ferdinand. I met him for the first time today. It's not always you meet even though I'm the minister here. It's not always every day you meet a father and talk to one. And for the work he has done on Cassava, I recognize all other dignitaries here present. And I particularly recognize our friends and colleagues in the press, and the distinguished ladies and gentlemen, without whom we all won't be here. Today is another landmark day in the history of the development of cassava bread in Nigeria. Today's event is bringing together stakeholders in the cassava industry to work for the standardization of the cassava bread recipe with a view of evolving a national cassava bread recipe that is primarily sustainable. I think the key word here is sustainable, affordable, and profitable. The Federal Institute of Industrial Research, FIRO, Oshodi, or Federal Ministry of Science and Technology, is responsible for this initiative because of its clear leadership in the cassava processing area, especially the cassava with composite bread production. Undoubtedly, FIRO has been in the forefront in cassava processing research and development in Nigeria and has developed a number of products of commercial importance. One of which clearly is high quality cassava flour, which the industry has successfully used for partial substitution in wheat flour at different levels of inclusion, right from the 1960s, just like the DG has said. The cassava bread initiative has many clear advantages for socio-economic development of our nation. Cassava bread is a profitable business, and it's expected that cassava flour inclusion in wheat flour will eventually lead to reduction in price of bread, as against the general insinuation that this may lead to increase in cost of bread. Several studies, including glycemic index study, just like she has said, has also confirmed that cassava bread is safe for human consumption. I speak here personally as a consumer of cassava bread. I know that many FIRO staff have seen my cars come here to collect cassava bread. And I was told today that I owe 6,000 naira to the bakers. It just shows the level of cassava bread I've consumed in the past week. National Bureau of Statistics put the rate of unemployment in Nigeria at about 24%. It's noteworthy that Cassava Initiative, as she has said, has the potentials to reverse this trend. That means they can do a great job, especially in the creation of rural employment, which will assist reduce rural-urban migration, promote rural industrialization, job and wealth creation, which should assist reduce the rate of criminality, especially among our employed youths, which enhances national security. Our dear country, Nigeria, under the able leadership of His Excellency, President and Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces of Nigeria, Dr. Goodluck Ebele Jonathan, clearly deserves commendation. Federal government effort in formulating and implementing cassava policies for national socio-economic growth and development, Nigeria being the largest producer of cassava in the world. The Federal Ministry of Science and Technology commends the efforts of the Honorable Minister of Agriculture and Rural Development, Dr. Adeshino, for the promotion of the cassava research and development initiatives and breakthroughs, especially the cassava bread, by FIRO and by the Federal Ministry of Science and Technology. Here I speak to the Honorable Minister. Your effort is commended, Honorable Minister, ma'am. Of interministerial collaboration as named. The Federal Ministry of Science and Technology wishes to state here that it will continue to enhance this collaboration and promote better understanding and partnership between it and the Ministry of Agriculture and Rural Development, and indeed any other person or groups that are working on this cassava initiative. Many parastatals under the Federal Ministry of Science and Technology have equally developed several number of products and initiatives, which we, the Ministry of Science and Tech, will share with all other stakeholders for national socio-economic growth and development. The Ministry is reliably informed that this is a week-long exercise, and the technical sessions will follow after this opening ceremony. So may I, on behalf of the Honorable Minister of Science and Technology, and and indeed the ministry and Nigeria encourage you to participate fully in making the objective contributions into this exercise to ensure that the goals and objectives of the programs are fully realized. I wish you well and thank you so that I can come back and consume more cassava bread. Thank you.
Please let's put our hands together once again for a speech well delivered on behalf of the Honorable Minister for Science and Technology. On our program of activities, we want to move on to the goodwill messages that we have. Definitely, the issue of cassava bread, like DG said, is no more news, but we're only trying to take it to the next level now, and which we will do successfully, I believe. We want to listen to goodwill messages and want to call on distinguished Nigerians that have made their marks when it comes to cassava bread. And the very first of them that we shall be inviting to make a short speech, maybe 2-3 minutes, in order to save our time, is a representative of the Standard Organization of Nigeria. They want to give us the standard in which we are going to abide with. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to call on Mrs. Margaret Essient to please give us her goodwill message on behalf of the Standard Organization of Nigeria.
Director General, Firu, our Miru, Dr. Mrs. Gloria Elemo, the chairman of today's occasion, the Honorable Minister for Science and Technology, here present, represented, the Honorable Minister for Agriculture, Rural Development, here present, distinguished members of the high table. I'm supposed to be given 3 minutes. I was just wondering if I keep calling all and have 1 minute remaining. So I hope you bear with me. Distinguished participants here present, I bring you greetings from the Director General Standards Organization of Nigeria, who is very, very happy for this particular occasion. I was with him yesterday, but he has an official assignment at Abuja, and he went through this goodwill message, big correction. I want to tell you how public servants work. So when I'm here, you will rest assured that the file came out with some corrections I have to send back because he said his name is here. So I have to deliver this the way it is written. And as a public servant, I cannot change anything. So it is indeed my pleasure to be at this opening ceremony of the Cassava Bread Recipe Confirmation Exercise organized by the Federal Institute of Industrial Research, Oshodi, in collaboration with Flour Millers Association of Nigeria, Cassava Adding Value to Africa, CAVA, and Federal Ministry of Agriculture and Rural Development. The importance of cassava and cassava products in Nigeria cannot be overemphasized. More so, it is growing in all parts of the country now. The Standards Organization of Nigeria, being the apex national standards body, has been collaborating with FIRO in this work in cassava. We have the mandate to elaborate standards, and we also recognize that we need to work with Research Institute, and FIRO has always been there. Every standard in food that has been developed by SON has had representation and input from FIRO. So government in its wisdom had established Federal Institute of Industrial Research, Oshodi, and with the motto of industrialization through research. With that, it is assumed that FIRO forms the bedrock of research for food industries in Nigeria. And since we're establishing standards, we cannot afford to work without Firo. In view of this, SON has also worked with other stakeholders to develop the Nigerian industrial standard for cassava bread. The recipe we are launching today will also form an input, because for you to keep the standard, it has to be standardized. What we are here to do today is to assure everyone that the recipe will be the one that will be used all over Nigeria. Madam, I believe. So it's not only for the southwest region, it is for all the geopolitical regions. The need to develop standards for cassava products became necessary in order to ensure safety, quality of the cassava products, and to promote fair trade practices among stakeholders. And then also to key into the agricultural transformation agenda, ATA, the vision for cassava bread project, and to ensure that cassava is supplied for this project. Standards Organization of Nigeria fully supports the presidential directive. We were at Abuja at the launching of this particular committee, and we were told that the presidential initiative is to actualize full commercialization of cassava bread across the country, with the principal objective of at least 50% penetration of the national bread market by 2015. Doctor, Madam, can you confirm? Yes. So we have a target for 2015. So some key into this policy by reviewing its existing standards on wheat flour and cassava products in collaboration with Firo and other agencies. We've tried also to develop new standards given the minimum requirements like the DG, Firo has already mentioned, composite flour and cassava products. We've gone to the extent of even developing standards for the cassava roots, starting from the farm. Then the cassava flour, then the cassava chips, all this were set. These standards specify essential quality requirements, including the packaging and labeling requirements. We've also included sampling methods and the levels of substitution of wheat flour with non-wheat flour. The composite is also specified. I am pleased to know that the objective of today's discourse is to provide scientific evidence which the DG Firo presenting to support the safety of cassava. We all don't have to go into that research. Firo has spoken, and we believe them, we support them, and we'll collectively defend that position. Because this will provide inputs for standardization of the cassava bread. The ultimate is that by the time NAFDAC is also taking the sample of bread to that test, following this recipe, you can see that it's a collaborative effort. If you put the right things in there, it will be let me not use the word garbage. As you put it correctly, what will come out will also be the correct bread that we're expecting. I must state that since I assumed the leadership of the African Regional Organization for Standardization, the DGSON, as the DGSON, I was made the president of the African Regional Organization for Standardization. This organization has been quite active and is very much alive to its responsibilities, particularly in the area of harmonizing standards among African countries. Cassava has been adopted by the African Union as one of its focal crops. And standardization of cassava bread, I can assure you in today's meeting, is already on the agenda of the African Regional Organization for Standardization. It is therefore most likely that what we are going to do today will transcend beyond the shores of Nigeria, and it will provide benefit to other African countries. On this note, I wish to thank all of you for making today's success, and I wish you a very fruitful deliberation. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, ma'am. Now, from that speech, we all are sure that whatever we come out with here will have the support of the SOA. So quickly, we will move on to another good message. This time, we want to call on
distinguished members of the high table, the flour millers, Cassava adding value, and my brothers, Association of Master Bakers. I don't joke with them because without them, we won't be able to implement what you're doing. Distinguished members and of the press, because whatever we do today, you do not present it, put it in media, we are nowhere. And then all other people here present that are major stakeholders in cassava value chain. I bring you greetings of the Director General NAFDAC. We are very, very, very happy to be here in this epoch-making event at Federal Institute of Industrial Research at the Cassava Bread Recipe Confirmation Exercise organized by the Federal Institute of Industrial Research, Ushu. Cassava Adding Value for Africa project, CAVA. The flour millers who are helping to sponsor the occasion, the Federal Ministry of Agriculture and Rural Development that has been heading the agri-transformation agenda, and other stakeholders, in a view of standardizing the cassava bread recipe in Nigeria and provide scientific evidence in support of safety of cassava bread consumption. This forum will no doubt add value to our resolve to domesticate the utilization of high-quality cassava flour and bread baking in Nigeria. We in NAFDAC, as my sister Margaret has said, know that cassava is safe. Nigeria, working with FIRO, working with SON, working with academia, working with all members of the National Codex Contact Point, were the chair of the committee to develop the code of practice in reducing cyanide in cassava. And this code of practice has been adopted at international fora. We are one of the leading exporters of cassava flour. We work with IITA, so we know it's safe. So we are so happy that with the confirmation of the bread recipe, with the presentation from FIRO, now we know it's safe. I'm wondering why people feel it's not safe. When they swallow fufu all the time, when they take garri all the time, when they take lettuce salad all the time. So why are you now saying it's not safe? So it is therefore scientifically logical to expect that the utilization of cassava flour in bread baking will increase considerably in most developing countries in coming years. We've spearheaded it and it's been ratified at international fora. Codex is a food standards body of Food and Agriculture Organization and World Health Organization. It's been ratified there. We already know, but I'm happy everybody is gathered for you to see, for it to be publicized, so that people know that cassava bread is good. And also the contributions from the Minister of Agriculture, the sponsors, the flour millers, CAVA Adding Value, the chairman of the Education, the Ministry of Science and Technology, hence the Contact Organization of Nigeria, and all here present, because I believe working together in Nigeria, we should be able to transform this country to greater heights. Once again, I thank you all for coming. I commend the organizers, and we know working together, partnering together, we are going to achieve our goals in cassava adding value.
My name is Dako Aono. So I work for 100 flour mills, but this morning I'm studying for the Flour Milling Association of Nigeria. So what I say here this morning is representing the views of more than 20 or 25 flour mills in Nigeria today. I know I have about 2 to 3 minutes, so I understand on the system protocols. Let me start by appreciating this institute for the effort that we're making in developing the local industries, and most importantly, the recent drive and effort at collaborating with the industry to bridge existing gaps, most especially in the high-quality cassava flour vis-a-vis cassava bread initiative. These institutes have been known to be in the forefront of composite flour for bread production years back, long before the recent national agenda of the government. Without doubt, the high quality cassava flour inclusion policy is a laudable one. We know it will impact positively on our economy to generate jobs. Farmers will plant more cassava. There will be marketers to sell them. The transportation sector will be affected positively. People will be gainfully employed. And also it will enhance our GDP, among others. As an association, we so much believe in this policy and we have full support of this exercise today. To us, the policy has come to stay. As such, we have committee in place to ensure the utilization of cassava flour at the mills. We have committee in place that moves from mill to mills to ensure and to enforce that the product cassava flour is being used. We go as far as asking for your LPO, delivering notes, just to make sure that you are applying it. We have a committee in place, and we do that every month amongst ourselves.
I'm representing the President of NIST, Nigerian Institute of Science and Technology, and equally the country manager of Cassava. And whatever I say is in the brain of President of NIST and Cassava country manager, but in the voice of Ebewole. Ab initio, NIST have been in the vanguard of cassava adding value. What puzzled me most at the time we were carrying this banner of cassava is that foreigner is sponsoring cassava over the years. And I've not come across Nigeria who will say, let's do the same thing the foreigner is doing for cassava, and that is the delegate. But here we are all seated. We want to promote cassava bread. Very good. Among all of us seated here, how many of us have eaten cassava bread? Honestly, how many of us have eaten cassava bread? Very good. So, the majority of us have eaten cassava bread. You don't know across for it. So, if anybody is campaigning or canvassing against cassava and bread, then the rest of us seated here are all Nigerians and we have the blood of Nigerian flow through our veins. Then it means that the cassava bread is safe and sound. We have collaborated with quite a lot of other bodies that have been mentioned here today, including ITA, the cassava growers. Not only that, coordinated the activities with respect to campaigning for cassava in bread.
Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, please permit me to stand on the existing protocol. However, in saying this, I think I shall be failing in my duty if I fail to recognize the presence of what I always describe that women are powerful. And if this country is to grow, if the world is to grow, we must develop and give encouragement to women. On that note, let me recognize first Dr. Mrs. Lemo for inviting me on this occasion. I tried to escape in my usual way, but she made it impossible. When I got her text very late yesterday, I said to myself, as usual, I had the privilege of working very closely with her as chairman of technical team presidential initiative. She was in raw materials. And there are two people, herself and a gentleman, Dr. Something, from raw materials. I respect them because unknowingly to them, I use them as guinea pig. But I thank you today that that guinea pig has made me proud because what I've seen today is a manifestation of greatness. And God will give you. No doubt, what you are doing with this institution, you may not know it until you have left. But I want to assure you that the greatest challenge you have is how to continue this process and make it happen. I want to beg you, you have a lot to do. You can count on my support. I will, everything possible, I will give you that support. Number of occasions, but I always have. Why don't we develop our cassava? All of us here, we are wearing something with cassava, because 10% of what you put on is cassava starch. And as such, I believe there is a need for us that we cannot abandon this project. I would like therefore to appeal that we must have a total concept of achieving sustainable development. We must involve the past, the present, and the greater tomorrow, which are the younger ones. Because we can create job, we can create anything. Cassava alone has over 2,000 varieties. We're only talking about one, red. That's only one. But we have over 2,000 varieties. So I would like to appeal, let us go back and do something that we can use cassava as an instrument of socio-economic development. I know I have only 3 minutes, but let me just quickly add that I believe as we look at cassava and we look at bread, ECOWAS is waiting for us. Africa is waiting for us. But are we ready? I think to Philo, to everybody here, the challenge to us is let us look at the ECOWAS and African market. I would like once again to congratulate you for this initiative and for this activity. But please, we must move from individualism to institutional development. We must address the challenge of continuity and sustainability.
We bakers in Lagos State, under the scope of Master Bakers and Capital of Nigeria, Lagos State Chapter, joined the Director General of FIRO, Dr. Mrs. G.N. Elemo, the Flag Millers Association of Nigeria, in welcoming the entire brilliant and the best Minister of Agriculture this country ever had. Represented by Ms. Olatuji, am I right? Olatuji, the Honorable Minister of Agri, who had created a very good relationship with the Association of Master Bakers since this federal government policy of flour or cassava flour inclusion in bread. Today's event is no doubt again go on this record of success of FIRO among these other achievements. In fact, it is not gainsay to mention at this August occasion that Federal Ministry of Industrial Research has contributed immensely to the economy of this great nation since inception. I'm using this forum to salute the courage of the Director General of FIRO, Dr. Mrs. G.N. Elemo, for doing a good job that ordinary others will have done because of the enormous challenge and innovative that is entails. There's no doubt that FIRO as a research institute will take our country, Nigeria, to greater heights among other nations in the continent and the world at large. There's no doubt that FIRO as a research institute will take our country, Nigeria, to greater heights among other nations in the continent and the world at large. Please underline that. We bakers, we are very proud of FIRO, and we will keep on to support and cooperate with the agency as long as it keeps on doing what it knows best, which is researching into what we
Dr. the representative of the permanent secretary, DG Firo, NAFDAC, son, every represented here. Cassava, our partner. We want to also stand on the existing protocol. I wish to express my pleasure and delight for being part of the occasion of the cassava bread recipe confirmation exercise. I regard this as a very important milestone in our journey of getting cassava bread on the table of Nigerians and in the most generally acceptable form. The attainment of a standard recipe will go a long way in creating uniformity and standards in the cassava bread industry and consolidate on our achievements on the industry so far. It is indeed a right step in the right direction and also coming at the right time. The agricultural transformation agenda of the federal government of Nigeria is intended to transform the agri sector to an enviable level where Nigerian farmers and processors will fit into global competitiveness. The current food import bill of 1.7 trillion is not only damaging to the economy, but it also increases the rate of unemployment and translates to exporting jobs to farmers in other parts of the world. The other agenda is therefore focusing on key agricultural commodities where Nigeria has comparative advantage. They are cassava, cocoa, cotton, rice, oil palm, sorghum, fruits and leafy vegetables, and one or two others. This ultimately we add 20 million metric tons to domestic food supply by 2015. It is also intended to create 3.5 million jobs in all the sub-sectors by 2015. It intends to ensure overall food security and generate additional 300 billion naira as income for farmers. In specific terms, we intend to achieve self-sufficiency in rice production and reduce the import bill of wheat by substituting 20% of wheat flour with high-quality cassava flour in bread and other confectioneries. The 20% substitution alone will save the nation the sum of 120 billion naira. The Federal Ministry of Agriculture has taken the bull by the horn in its drive towards the actualization of this initiative through the strategic partnership with all relevant stakeholders, including research institutes such as FIRO, IITA, NRCRI, and so on. It also includes, this partnership also includes the Master Bakers Association of Nigeria, the MICAPMA, who are the HQCF processors, farmers, marketers, international donor partners such as IFAD and Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. The ministry works with these partners in both complementary and symbiotic manner to achieve the set goal. Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation has been part of this process from the beginning and has supported the project both technically and financially, including the exercise of today. I would like to commend the country manager of Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. Is unavoidably absent, but it's being represented here today. I would like to commend the efforts in driving this cassava initiative up to this level. We remain very grateful to you. The availability of HQCF has remained a big challenge to the sustenance of the initiative
whereby the current level of production of HQCF of less than 300,000 metric tons will require an upward shift to 1.2 million metric tons per annum in order to meet the demand for bread at 20% level of increase. This particular challenge prompted the ministry to seek for an intervention fund to address it. Mr. President, Dr. Ebele Jonathan graciously approved and thereafter released the sum of 9.9 billion to build the capacities of small and medium enterprises in the industry, the large-scale HQCF producers, the master bakers, and the flour processors, including the farmers. This is with an intention to build the capacity of SMEs to increase their level of productivity from 1 metric tons per day to 3 metric tons per day, making up an additional total of 105,000 metric tons, and the 6 large-scale producers to add 108,000 metric tons accordingly. This gesture was followed by the establishment of the Oversight Committee comprising of Research Institutes, Standard Organization of Nigeria, HQCF processors, Master Bakers Association of Nigeria, NAFDAC, Farmers, Office of the Honorable Minister of Agriculture, Federal Minister of Finance, Trade and Investment, and the Federal Department of Agriculture. The mandate of the committee includes monitoring and ensuring quality and standards, maintaining accountability, as well as checks and balances in the system. It is on this note that I would like to once again congratulate FIRO for conducting this exercise and wish the participants fruitful work. Thank you very much.
The Minister of Agriculture visited FIRO, tested the bread, acknowledged the authority of FIRO in this particular technology, and decided to adopt the recipe of the FIRO cassava bread as a national recipe. Henceforth, that same day, he renamed the FIRO cassava bread as Cassava bread. So cassava bread in Nigeria will be Cassava bread, powered by FIRO. And that is a Cassava bread. We used to have the label as FIRO bread, but it is now Cassava bread. So we are using this opportunity for the Honorable Minister himself to launch the Cassava bread. This is the peak of today's activity. Thank you very much. Honorable Minister. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I have the honor of the Chairman of the Governing Board of the Federal Institute of Industrial Research gracing this occasion for us with members of the board. It shows the importance of promoting this innovation as a for national development. And today, that we are standardizing the recipe for cassava bread in the nation is getting the stamp of authority of the governing board, the Honorable Minister of Science and Tech, and the Honorable Minister for Agriculture.
Gary and all that. So thirdly, cassava would have been a staple food for Nigeria. And so being added in our bread or in any of our confectionaries, I mean, should not be anything that's not ordinary.
Okay, so how do we ensure that cassava bread is in every state of the nation?
That's what we're doing here today now. We are training master bakers across the country. That means that every master baker or every bakery will have the ability of baking cassava bread. That makes it available across the country. My name is Tamil Okuja. I'm DG Natural Medicine representing the Honorable Minister of Science and Technology in this occasion. Thank you very much.
is a landmark, it's a milestone in our journey towards having cassava on the table of every Nigerian, or having every Nigerian take cassava bread as a matter of patriotism, as our own contribution to economic development of this nation. So for us, what happened today is a very, very big milestone because we have been able now to have standards for the bread. So whether you eat bread in Lagos or you eat bread in Maiduguri, you are eating a standardized recipe bread where there is uniformity to some extent in terms of standards. So it's a landmark achievement for us, and for Firo championing this cause, this is not a surprise to us because Firo has always been in the vanguard, or has also been championing this cause of actualizing the cassava bread initiative.
Thank you. Madam, just put down the just come now.
My name is Dr. Alex Obi, Chairman of the Board of Federal Institute of Industrial Research.
Sir, the institute board is chairman is coming out with such. It's time for others to follow.
The president has challenged us. It is all embodied in the mandate of the institute to look for indigenous solutions to most of our national problems. And Firo has been at the vanguard of these researches for years. And aside from that of bread, there are a world of other products that we need to put out to Nigerians. From the products of Firo, we can solve most of our unemployment problems. This example of bread is just one. That there are other local recipes available instead of us wasting billions of naira importing wheat. There are local sources. You can imagine the ripple effect of this in the economy. Farmers will be encouraged to grow more cassava. There will be more food. It will be cheaper. And no bread quality is lost. In actual fact, it's even richer than most other bread made with other products, commercial flour. So we are extremely excited to be associated with this research. We are very, very challenged, and the president is giving us all the encouragement. The minister is giving us all the encouragement. Mr. President is actually taking these researches very seriously, and it is high time we started putting them out to the Nigerian public. Thank you.
Thank you. 100% cassava inclusion in the bread. It's baked with standard methods. It's very nutritious, especially for energy provision. It is also very good for provision of other nutrients too. We have Cassava bread having at least some level of fiber. It is safe, though it contains cassava. It has no cyanide. We have done the analysis. We've done the toxicological study. We have done it in animal study. Animals have been fed with cassava bread, and it has been found to have no deleterious effect whatsoever in any of experimental animals organ. We have used it, and we have also done glycemic index, which is an indication of its the ability of the body to absorb the carbohydrate in it and maintain a constant sugar level, and it has been found to be perfect. The GI is lower than that of cassava or the standard bread, and that shows that it's even more of a health bread than the standard bread. The most important thing is that it has local content. We have to very much encourage local content, especially with our own materials. That's the only way we can industrialize. That means we can be able to set up industries, small-scale industries, that will definitely see to the end of the employment generation. From all the things we have found out and the surveys we have carried out, it can be seen definitely that it is one and a very important test case of local content utilization towards industrialization of Nigeria. Once we get it right, we are at the top of our business.
Research tells us that we need about 550 grams of cassava flour to this production of cassava. I mean, cassava flour, we need more. How do you think flour millers can do?
Yes, well, from the research we have done here, there is a standard method also for high quality cassava flour. And the flour millers are, you can see flour millers supported this program. It is FIRO in collaboration with Flour Millers Association of Nigeria, which means the flour millers are ready and supporting the program to embark on local content utilization. They are working with federal government, they are working with federal government policy. And this is the type of synergy, the type of support we are expecting from the private sector to be able to move Nigeria to where we are. Use this opportunity to thank the Flour Millers Association of Nigeria for supporting this initiative. Definitely, with the flour millers coming in, we have a group of processors that have actually been trained in production of high quality cassava flour that will meet the standard of the flour that is needed for incorporation into flour. And we are working also with NAFDAC as well as with Standard Organization of Nigeria. With these people, we have the standard recipe that can move the high quality cassava flour to the need of the flour millers. And a survey of what is happening in the flour milling industry shows that they are ready to adopt this initiative because they have put in place machinery to take in the percentage inclusion. So I don't envisage any problem with raw materials sourcing of the cassava for inclusion in bread.
Madam, recently FIRO and the Bank of Industry signed an MOU on supporting SMEs. Will cassava initiative, that is, those into cassava initiative, will they benefit from such?
Oh yes, actually in FIRO, we gave birth and nurtured the Association of Cassava Processors and Marketers of Nigeria, the INCAPMAN. The secretariat is here in FIRO. And with our collaboration with Bank of Industry, we are actually like the supporters of most of their initiative and they're standing as guarantor to grant and equipment sourcing. So with the collaboration with Bank of Industry, it further solidifies that relationship and association. And Bank of Industry has been doing a lot in the area of this cassava bread initiative because it is the bank that is housing part of the cassava bread fund, and they have put everything in place for cassava, for people, stakeholders in the cassava business to benefit from that particular fund. Some, I'm very sure, very soon you will find that they will have finalized all the modalities of disbursing the necessary funds and grants to the stakeholders.
Like the minister talked about hectares of land that has been acquired already. Where are those hectares of land?
That is Ministry of Agriculture. I don't know their locations, but they have done a lot of work in acquisition of land clearing and cassava production. We at FIRO have a mandate into processing. So we process the cassava that is brought into safe flour for utilization, and also other various products like the fufu, the odorless fufu, cassava starch. We have adhesives, even glucose from cassava. All these are various products, and cassava macaroni that has been developed in the institute. The chairman is working. Yes. Thank you.
Because that bucket itself is graduated.
What is the answering time?
28 meters. That's the I said about find all the ingredients before adding. So, dough is being mixed. Recipe, so that somebody does not go with the recipe different from what we all have. Let them. No, rest.
When we take 50 kg of flour, of wheat flour, when we put it into the mixer, we now remove 10 kg, which is 20%. You understand? When we remove that 10 kg of wheat flour, we now replace it with 10 kg of cassava flour. You understand? So we duplicate it. So making 50 kg in one bag. So you know that normally, okay, we now add 300 grams of yeast. Are we together? 6 kilograms of sugar. Sugar has a range depending on what you want to put. But say between 5 to 6 kg of sugar, salt, 900 grams of salt, fat, 2 kg. Then water has a range, depending on the water absorption capacity of the flour. But it's saying that between 25 to 28 liters of water.
And today we use 28.
Today we use 28 liters of water. So first thing they do is they dry mix. They dry mix it so that the recipe and the ingredients get together at one time. And they now add water. After adding water, the slow mixing was for 5 to 10 minutes. Slow mixing, so that everything will come together with the water to form dough. Then fast mixing is for 5 minutes. Together, 15 minutes. Am I communicating? Now, after that, fast mixing is for 5. Together, the mixing stage is 15 minutes. After mixing for, it will have formed a good consistency. A good consistency that can grams into 900 to 950. Okay, Truba. The Truba, they say stop. Now from 2 to 2.5. I asked her, when we go so, someone this once in the mixer will start fermenting the mixer, start growing gas. So we said that the one for people, that's the one for people. People will increase or slow down the rate of fermentation because every ingredient has a role. Yes. Even that improver that is being produced has the role that is playing.
Special breading proven for cassava. It is a special breading and it is there inside even. Your madam knows very well. And actually, in fact, let me explain, sir. Excuse me, sir. That Beta Baker cassava bread improver was done the trials with jointly with the federal government of agriculture department. In the southwest states, many places they did. And in fact, I am going to introduce to my chairman, Mr. Prince, in Lagos. That is a special bread improver for cassava. Special bread improver for cassava. It's only for cassava. Only for cassava.
Only for cassava. So, you call it Beta
Baker cassava bread improver.
Yes, we research. We have to get them materials together, get them at their optimal levels. So after years of research,
what I'm saying here, the demonstration, what is it all about? What are the major ingredients you are looking at to get the correct recipe?
This demonstration is actually a practical show of the production of the cassava bread, because that is what we are launching today. Cassava bread, Cassava, fuel. So that's what we want to show, that it is doable. This is pure recipe. So just like we make normal white bread, we have the wheat flour, we have the sugar, we have the fat, the yeast, the salt, of course the water to combine all the ingredients together. So that's what we have come to show makers and farmers and all stakeholders in this value chain.
What kind of measurement? For instance, if I have to do 50 kg bread for cassava flour, how do I mixing flour and cassava flour, how do I get 50 kg?
The recipe has been taken by makers because here we transfer the technology. So as I'm on here, I'll be telling you the technology, the whole recipe to do. But that's what we have come here to tell you. We have told people here to do. And of course, as many people as are interested, we also come to
How long will this last? And do you think that within the period it will last, the exercise, the participant will get the details of what you are giving them?
Oh, sure. No, these people are not novice. They are bakers. They know what they are doing already. They know how to bake. We're just telling them how to input cassava. So there is more or less nothing new to them. It's just the input of cassava. And